Welcome back to the Brave and Creative podcast. We are jumping right in. This is part 2 of an interview with Regina Banks. The previous session of this interview was about 405maskmakers.com. If you haven't heard that yet, go check that out. Vital information about ways to help during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so that was a very serious interview and kind of call to action in this project. So check that out, 405maskmakers.com. And now we're just going to take a few minutes of, talking through this, but hopefully being able to laugh a little bit and just kind of hear what's going on. You have been a leader and someone that has inspired me and challenged me over these last years and the ways that you've been involved in the community and with your family. So just excited to share your story with everyone today, and maybe someone that hasn't got to interact before, and just looking forward to catching up.
Looking forward to it. Bring it on.
Awesome. Okay, so what is, just kind of carrying over from that previous discussion, but what is the biggest challenge or opportunity you have as a mom right now, and maybe fill folks in on just kind of nutshell of your life and kids and whatever you want there.
Yes, so I'm a mother to 4 teenage girls. 4. It used to be 3. Used to be 3, but this year I took on the additional honor of being a homestay mother to a young woman from South Korea. So I have 4 teenage girls living in my home now, and I consider it. I know people, hear, oh my God, 4 teenage girls, and it's like, oh. You got your hands full. And I do have my hands full, but what an honor to mother these young ladies and to hopefully live as a good example before them and train them up in the way that they should go so that when they are old, they will not depart from it.
That's right.
I don't get it right. Every day, but that is my intent, it's my purpose and my mantra. Until the day I die.
No, that's
So
beautiful.
I think your question was, what
Please.
do I want to get to them during this time?
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge or
Biggest
opportunity as a mom during
opportunity.
this time? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I don't want to downplay the seriousness of the pandemic that we are all living through. But I also don't want them to panic. So I want to be a voice of calm and reason. And I also want them to grab hold of their faith. Um, uh,
Right.
it's very easy to sort of just walk by the wayside, especially as a teenager. I try to keep them engaged. But it's hard when you have sports and work and school, and it's a lot. And so sometimes you know our our faith practices can fall by the wayside. Just the other day I wanted them to sit down and take communion, and they
Yeah.
were like, Mom, when's the last time we took communion? Well, it doesn't matter when the last time was. We're taking communion today.
Right.
And then be prayerful through this time. And then also think about others. You can't be so egocentric that you don't think about your neighbor. So they have been plugged in making masks.
Right.
Even though they can't sew, they've been cutting fabric and elastic, uh, and think about how you can help others, checking on our neighbors and plugging into the community. Get outside of your own bubble.
Yeah. Well, I think a powerful thing you mentioned there, even on something like the sacrament of communion, and whether people partake of that or not, there's something very tangible to that and felt
Yeah.
in this time where everything is over a screen or through a window or whatever. To
Hmm.
physically hold those elements, partake of those, I think is I don't know, it's a powerful picture during this season.
I
It
agree.
always is, but elevated, I think, right now. So.
I agree. I agree.
How about school for them? Has that been? I know my daughters are in elementary school, and I'm
Hmm.
amazed at the expectations and things in
Yeah.
general compared to when I was in elementary school. So how has that been with four in the house?
It has been, really interesting. So my kids attend Heritage Hall, and for all intents and purposes, we were really poised, um, to be able to transition to remote learning. It's a one-to-one school, so every kid already had a laptop or an iPad for
Mm,
the littles. Um,
right.
so even though we were poised for it, we weren't in the practice of it, of remote learning. So our teachers have had to adjust a great deal to teaching online, and it's been beautiful to see the grace that's been extended from the administrative staff to the students to say, "Hey, we are giving you freedom to approach this in a way that works for you and your students," um, and then
Mm,
to see the students. Respond gracefully to the teachers and the teachers to the students. A lot of grace is being given, when to attend classes, how to teach. But it has definitely
mm.
been an adjustment for my kids. I know my middle child, her sleep cycle is completely thrown off. Poor kid.
Totally hear
Yeah.
that. Totally hear
um,
that.
I've got older kids. I mean, my youngest is in the 6th grade, so, they're pretty self-sufficient. They don't
Mm,
need me over their shoulders, but, the teachers have done a great job of communicating with parents and students, to make sure everyone's plugged in, on the same page, and, ready to go. So we have been, let's see, spring break ended on the
it's about 2 years ago, I think. Spring break
it
in.
feels like it.
So,
It ended on the 13th, so our kids started online school on the 16th. So we're going into, our 3rd or 4th week of,
wow.
no, spring break started on the 16th and on 20th. So we started online school on the 24th.
Oh, okay.
So
All
we're
right.
going into our 3rd week of, remote learning. I'm so proud of my kids. They have really adjusted well. I I think I have low expectations. I think I think I expected them to be a little pouty,
Mm,
a little bit more irritated, and there have definitely been challenges, but they've adjusted so well, and I think it's because the teachers have been so gracious, and
mm.
the administrative staff has been gracious toward the teachers, and so it's just a wonderful community to be a part of, especially at a time like this. And I must take this moment to really commend Guy Bramble, who is the president of Heritage Hall. I mean, never have I ever seen a leader rise to such heights. I mean, not that he had far to travel. He's already been such a great
Right.
headmaster, and as he's transitioned into this presidential role of Heritage Hall, but in such a tumultuous and uncertain time, he has really been a calm and steady voice of reason. The tone in his emails and communications with both staff and teachers, as well as the patron body, has just been impeccable.
Oh.
Second to none. I'm like, do you run or run for office?
That's right. Might have to get a website made for that and
Absolutely.
get that happen.
And
Well, no,
thanks for
and
Mayor Holt, I just wanna say as
yes,
well. Oh my
yes,
god, just phenomenal, phenomenal leadership. You really get to see what people are made of in during a struggle.
yes. Yes, no, I think you mentioned two great examples there, or several great examples there of leadership. And at times like this, that communication, the clarity, those things that are always important are all of a sudden paramount, and you begin to see people in a different way in that time. And
Absolutely.
it's something I'd love for people in the comments or on social once this goes up. Would love to see some comments of other leaders in different fields, um, not just nonprofit, but all over that you feel like have really communicated well and clearly. I would love to be able to highlight those and help share those lessons that we learn and we become better leaders through that.
Absolutely.
So when we first met, it's kind of through some entrepreneurial types of things. So if you will talk a bit about that part of your journey, and just give us a kind of a nutshell of what that part of your life.
Absolutely. So, I own a marketing company, RJB's Concepts, and I've been doing that. It'll be 12 years in July, which is crazy to think about.
Wow.
Um, thank God for 12 years.
That's
Um,
right.
and Most recently, I started a production company called the Vanguart, which focuses on creating and promoting opportunities for African American artists here in Oklahoma. Um,
No,
and I
that's beautiful.
also work as a community service coordinator at Heritage Hall. So, um, just doing what I already do naturally, but helping the kids get acclimated to serving in the community. Which, if I could do a little caveat on that, we've kind of switched up our we've switched up our approach to service learning during this pandemic. We want to, not that we're holding the kids that required hours over their head, but we are definitely encouraging them. Part of the mantra of Heritage Hall is to learn, to lead, to serve.
Mm,
And so this is the time to serve. Finding ways for them to plug into their community, either right from their home or other opportunities that come their way that don't put them at risk um, for catching coronavirus. So uh, it's been really cool to see ways that the students are plugging in and helping. We had one student put together coordinate volunteers to feed students at a school that we typically have a lot of students serve at,
mm.
and that's Stanley Hupfield Academy. So it completely did it all on our own. Several of the
Oh my
students got
goodness.
together and did that, and of course the staff and the students at Stanley Hupfield Academy were very grateful, and we're grateful as a student body to see them serve, because that's what
Wow.
service is all about. So to circle back to me as an entrepreneur, uh, RJB's Concepts and the Vanguard, both of those have really come to what seems like a screeching halt um, during this pandemic. We serve a lot of small businesses,
Right.
um, and with RJB's Concepts, and so when small businesses are closed, for all intents and purposes, we are as well.
Right.
Um, so I've been meeting with my staff and trying to connect with them and get them everything that they need, make sure they are still getting money uh, in their pockets so that they can feed their families. So it's
Right.
not just me. I'm not thinking about myself. I have to think about the families that are connected to me, um,
Definitely.
knowing how important that paycheck is. And with the Vanguard, we were ramping up for a very active and festive season.
Oh
Um,
man.
and we had to pull the plug on a show we were going to be putting up the last weekend of March. And of course,
Oh man.
we had to make that call like a couple of weeks before. We couldn't wait until like the day before.
Right.
And I'm glad we chose to pull the plug when we did. But a lot goes into building a show.
Right.
And so having to pull that plug, it was a tough decision, but I'm glad that we did, because when we got around to the dates of the show, I mean, things were much different than they were the 2 weeks prior. So we
Right.
made the right choice.
Well, anymore, it's terrifying almost to wake up in the morning and pull out the
Look at the
phone
numbers. I
and look
know.
at the numbers, or what's
Like,
changed or what new recommendation.
yeah.
So I applaud you all for preemptively taking those steps, if you will. And I have two young daughters at this point in life, and so my ability to make it to events is not what I would like it to be, and I didn't get to attend. But the production that you all did last year was, from what I read and understand, was a very personal project, and it was a very serious project. So can you tell us a bit specifically about that?
Yes. So last year, our inaugural show was written by a local playwright. His name is Charles Purvey, and it was called The Life Cycle of a Butterfly. It dealt with a woman who, um, at the start of the show, had already endured significant trauma in her life, and through the course of the play, um, she is sexually assaulted. Um, I produced the show and also starred in the show, which I will never produce and star in a show again. That
Can't
was a
imagine.
lot.
Can't
That was
imagine.
a lot.
Mm.
I think that was my line. Um,
Right. Okay.
but yeah, it was very serious to play. We actually simulated a sexual assault on stage live. We brought in intimacy coordinator to help us choreograph
Wow.
that scene, um, and it hit a nerve with a lot of people. Um, you don't realize how many people you know, not just women, but men and women who have experienced a sexual trauma of any sort throughout their lives, and some people more than once. And so to be able to tell that story, and uh, I love that it ended on a good note. It was definitely a message of hope, perseverance, tenacity, and kind of how to rise from the ashes and evolve
Mm,
as a person, just like a butterfly would. So a lot of people were inspired to share their story, to take the journey of healing, because
mm,
so many who have people have been through that, myself included. Um, I have been through sexual trauma in my life as well. So
mm.
many of us live in the shadows, and to come into the light is a journey. But it can be so
Definitely.
healing, especially to share your story with others, helps others heal as well. So it was a tough story to tell, but to hear the personal messages and emails and
Mm.
direct messages I got after each show, it was mind blowing.
Wow.
And it lets you know you're doing the right thing.
Well, definitely, and just and I got chills. Just number of things that you're saying that are difficult. I mean, in terms of providing a place for black actors and actresses and
Mhm.
producers and all these different things, and then to tackle that heavy of subject matter in a way
Yeah,
that is because that's something you have to do well. You can't do that in a way that is just it has to be done well in those
absolutely.
situations. And I read so many places and heard from people that you guys did that and was powerful. So just kudos to you guys on tackling such a project.
Kudos to the team. I mean, that was definitely a joint effort. I don't take any credit. Charles is a wonderful writer, so he wrote a beautiful script, and the actors that all played a part, the staff,
Mm,
and even the gentleman that performed the sexual assault. I mean, we've become really good friends since then. I mean, there had to be a level of trust there to
wow.
be that vulnerable on stage. And so, shout out to all my co-stars on that deal. It was awesome.
No, that's great. What's something kind of circling back here to just the business side of things and I think all of us at first, our first question is, okay, how do we keep things going in the midst of this, or keep it a level that when we can bring things back up and take care of families and employees. But what is maybe one thing that you would say to a business owner, small business owner, in terms of their marketing or just in general, that to not miss the opportunity during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's kind of approached it differently. I think it's always good to share the story, your story. The
Mm,
more businesses come forward and say, "Hey, we're struggling through this. We don't know. We've had to lay off employees. We've had to take pay cuts." Um, when you tell your story, uh, it puts a face to a business. You're not just a brand. You are a person. You are a people, you are families. Um, and there are a lot of, excuse me, there are a lot of businesses that have been affected by this, and I love to hear their stories. Think about Factor 110, and how they have been sharing their stories on social media, and it really puts a face. They're not just the people that come in and set up your events. These are real life people with real life stories, and they're really being affected. You can imagine how they were affected because they they do events, and
Right.
so all the events shut down in a heartbeat. And so
Yeah.
it's been really cool to not only share their story, but then flip it. They've lifted up other small businesses to say, "Hey, we are we want to give a shout out to this company and this company. They have
Mm,
been helpful." And so to share, and then
mm,
also, yeah, we can't set up events, but, they've got that Scissor Tail, bookstore or market. They've been selling some of their products. Hey, if you wanna support local, we are a local business that you can support by buying products. I think people are looking for a way to plug in and to help, especially when they realize you are a person, you are a
right.
family, you are a human. They're like,
Right.
"How can we help?" Well, you can help by doing this or this. You can help by, putting a date on the calendar for the next year for 2021. If you had an event that you had to cancel this year, go ahead and put in a date for next year.
Yeah.
Um, Asking for help, I think, is okay as a small
That's a
business,
good
just as
point.
it is as a human. If I'm in help, I'm gonna be the first person to say, "Hey,
Yes.
I'm struggling. I'm on the struggle bus. I need help." And so,
No,
businesses are people too.
mm, that's so key. No, yeah. I'm highlighting exclamation point
I'm like,
that's
"Am I preaching to
such
you?"
a the organ just went on the background.
Ah.
But no, that's so true. And for individuals, for companies, and we really begin to see just the humanity of people, and that there are people that make up these companies,
Yeah,
and even these statistics every day that we hear, that each percentage of people who are sick or have passed away is a person, and it's
a
just gets
person.
overwhelming um, to think of. So I think, like you're saying, to share and to ask is, man, even these little things bring a step of hope. Okay, how do I get to the next
Absolutely.
day? And it's so powerful. So that being said, we're gonna wrap up. Just a few more questions here. I got
Okay.
three questions, um, right along with where we're just at. So, what is something that right now brings you peace or sanity during this time? What's something that has really um, brought that to you?
Well, I have maintained my routine. Um,
Mm,
so I still get up in the morning, spend time in the Word, quiet time and prayer. Get up, get dressed, shower. Brush my teeth. I've been brushing my teeth every day. Um,
the little things. That's right.
Yeah, get dressed. It's very easy. I mean, right now I'm a little party on top and, sweats on the bottom, but um, something. I still
Yeah.
come to my workplace. So it's the routine that is very helpful for me. Also, plugging in with my girls. Everybody is home. I've got
Mm,
teenagers, so they kind of scatter in the evenings. And now everyone's home. So we've been really maximizing this time with game nights and movie nights. And we got some nail kits. So we're going to be doing a little nail salon later on this
nice.
week. But yeah, plugging into those simple joys like cooking dinner together. So
Yeah.
spending time with my family, keeping my routine, and just trying to plug in and connect with as many people as possible. I'm an extrovert, so I'm really struggling right now, not being able to touch people. So seeing your face is like, oh, it's bringing me so much joy right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you too. That's so well said. What's something that's making you laugh? That's made you laugh here in the last few weeks?
Watching my kids just do silly stuff like TikTok.
I was gonna say,
TikTok.
yeah, I'm so
Oh my
behind on
god.
the TikTok, so it's
And all of the Tiger King memes. OMG. Hashtag Carol
oh
Baskin
my
did it.
gosh.
She did it.
I'm totally behind. I've not watched it yet.
Matthew,
Um,
stop what you're doing and watch The Tiger King.
so there's a
This is the
whole
bandwagon you have to jump on. You have
there,
to.
there's a whole other documentary that I'll watch that. Pass on one to you. It's called
Okay.
"The Elephant in the Living Room,"
Okay.
and it is a story about a former police officer that had a horrific experience. He gets called into a horrific experience in Ohio, where a Tiger King type safari park,
Mhm.
the owner is disgruntled, and he releases the cats on the city, like 60 large cats he
Oh.
releases. So the police get called in. It's tragic. It's tragic. So
Oh, I saw that. They end up tranquilizing, like,
yeah,
all the yeah,
yeah, it's
I
horrible.
haven't seen it, but yeah. Oh my god.
So then he
They talk
gets,
about it in Tiger King.
oh, do they? Okay. Well, so this guy, then he goes around the country. I mean, he's gotten alligators out of bathtubs in New York City. He's gotten king cobras out of garages. In Oklahoma, there's no law against owning these big cats, these wild animals. If you want to have a
Yeah,
tiger in your backyard, there's no law.
yeah, yeah.
That's a whole other deal. But anyway, so I'll catch you
Another
on Tiger
podcast.
King. You catch up on, that's right, on the
Okay.
Elephant in the Living Room, and
Elephant in the living
we'll
room.
compare
On it.
notes.
Okay.
So, and then last question would just be: you've shared a lot, just about personal things, these other projects. Where would be the best place, kind of primary place that you would like if anybody wants to connect with you for business or for the Vanguard or any of these things? Where would be the best place to connect with you?
Oh, goodness gracious. I do have a personal website. I need to put more of my business stuff on there, but it is I am Regina Joy. Where is it? No, it's reginajoy.com. Regina Joy.
ReginaJoy.com.
reginajoy.com.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'll do a lot of public speaking and workshops, and I need to put more business stuff there, but maybe that'll be my project for
There you go. There you go.
for the Rona days. But I've got some documentaries coming out pretty soon. So
That's
we've been
exciting.
working on some documentary films. I really want to give a shout out to Charles Perry and the Black Cowboy. It's a film about Black cowboys in
Oh my
America.
goodness.
Who knew, right?
Well, hey,
Well,
no,
I
that's
mean,
exciting.
I
I
knew that.
Cowboy Troy. That's the only one that goes on top of my head. So I know there's a lot.
Well,
There's a lot more than that, but
your mind is about to be blown. So be on the lookout for the Black Cowboy.
no, I'm excited to see that. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for what you're doing with the 405 Mask Makers.
My
Again,
pleasure.
for those of you listening, if you haven't, 405maskmakers.com. And I would encourage you as well, if you'll visit braveandcreative.com, I have the show notes there. We'll list out all these links to the various places to get in touch with Regina and to follow up with the Mask Makers and all these various things. We might even throw the Elephant in the Living Room, Tiger King. We'll put links to that too
Hey,
for
there
the
you
last
go.
person on earth that hasn't watched that yet, which is probably me.
Yeah.
So, any last thing?
No, I love what you're doing, Matthew. It's an honor to be interviewed by you, and I hope everyone goes out to be brave and creative, um, and continue to change the world for good. There's so much good
Awesome.
left to be done.
Yes, most definitely. Well, thank you, my friend. Great to talk to you, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds great. Bye.
Bye.